Shalom, family. Shalom, shalom. I hope everybody is having a great morning. I hope you had a good weekend. Y'all, my allergies are still tripping. I'm telling you, this year, my allergies are never like this, but this year, it's like, I just can't kick them. And usually I just, wait a couple of days. I might take something every now and then, like a Claritin, but I'm sure you all can hear it in my voice. I know they can when I'm at work over the phone. Some of the vendors are like, "Oh, are you getting sick?" And I'm like, "No," because I don't claim that. And I'm like, "No, it's just my allergies." But yeah, so excuse me while I drink my water. I'm drinking, excuse me, some ice cold apple cider vinegar water, which I've been on this for maybe a month now. I love apple cider vinegar water, and I love coconut water with lime, but not just lime. I also buy the mint leaves at the grocery store. Have you tried that? Put some mint leaves in your water. Oh my goodness. Refreshing. Yes. With maybe a couple of a few cubes of watermelon. It's so refreshing. And coconut water. If you don't do coconut water, regular water is fine. Anyway, I hope you guys had a good morning. I wanted to talk about proclaiming and esteeming our Father's name proudly and boldly, and understanding that, since the beginning, when Yahweh gave the helper, and I think that's so interesting how the helper started off as the helper. It's the helpmate. It's to help man, Adam, to live. It's his counterpart. So he can bounce things off of. But yes, his counterpart, the helper. In the beginning, it was Hawa. It was Eve, right? So when I saw that yesterday, I said, wow, the helper, that word, the unnamed servant, and man said, this is woman because she was made out of man in the beginning. And then all throughout the word, the helper is referred to as an unnamed servant. And then when Yeshua comes, he also talks about Yahweh Abba bringing the helper. And again, if this is your first time watching my video, I'm sorry, I cannot control the sun, okay? I'm just kidding. But yeah, the way my route to work, the sun is always on this side. I don't know, unless I turn a corner or two, and you might not see it for a second. But for the most part, the sun is right here in my window. But trust and believe, I'm here. It's not gonna block the message. Anyway, back to what I was saying. The helper. So then when Yeshua comes, if you look in John chapter 15, preferably the scripture that stood out to me preferably was John 15. I believe it's verse 24 all the way down to 27. Someone correct me if I'm wrong, but I'll have that specific verse in the detail section, and I'll have it pinned as one of my comments. But Yeshua, when he's telling the Talmudim, his taught ones, his disciples, he's telling them, they persecuted me, they're going to persecute you. That's the premise, right? And then he says, catch this, somebody, okay? Yeshua says, and I'm just paraphrasing, if I did not do something different in the world, if I did not do something different, they would not have any sin. And I hope somebody caught that, because if it stood out to me, Abba had that scripture he had it stand out to me where I really was like, wow, I never saw that before. What Yeshua is saying is that if I would have been around these religious people, these religious leaders, doing the same thing. Number one, how can I be the bane of Adon, the son of man, to esteem my father? If I would have did the same thing, I wouldn't have stood out, and they would not see the sin that's in them. They would continue doing what they're doing, not have a problem with it, and they wouldn't have a problem with me. And that's not why I'm here. That is not why I'm here. I'm here to proclaim my Father's name. If you go up a few verses, and again, I'll have that in the comment section if someone can put that verse there, when he talks about his name and his Father's name. He's saying, I came to proclaim my Father's name, to esteem his name. And I come in my Father's name. But if I were to do, again, he said, if I didn't do something different, they would not see their own sin. You know, these people, I think about the world, and you know, us as believers, usually when we think of the world, we think of people that aren't believers. But that's not what I take from that. Yeshua is saying these religious people, these people who, they might be pharisaical, whatever, they walk around. It makes me even think of today, people, you know, these bishops, these pastors, whoever, just religious at heart, without having that intimacy with the Father, because they don't esteem his name, and they have a problem with his name. They, to other people, they're looked at as being perfect. You know, of course, no man is perfect, but they're looked at as, you know, being that perfect example of a Christian or a believer, or, you know, someone I can go to, because and just like when I was in church, we used to feel like that, you know, about the religious leaders of the congregation, the elders, these people with these man-made titles that have been ordained by man, considered seasoned and all things Jesus and God. No. If we didn't have that perfect example, the true perfect example, who came and did something different, how could we see? How could we see the world? How could we see them? We wouldn't have. We wouldn't have. And so then that goes back to you and I just keeping each other encouraged. You know, how many times, you know, the story is the same. You come to get to know Yahweh and Yeshua, Elohim, Ruach HaKodesh, and you love that name and you're proclaiming that name. And people start feeling some kind of way. They have to stay away from you. They have to stay away from you because you're doing something different. I don't have to understand it because I grew up with this name Jesus. I grew up with this name God. I love my church. I love my church and I love my pastor. So I'm going to stay away from you. Now you're the one that's really doing the sinning. You're doing the sinning because, you know, because you're going against the grain. You're doing something different. This has been working for us. This goes back to the video I did about tradition and following tradition, proudly following tradition, without growing in the Word and without wanting to grow in Yeshua. And then in that same verse, I believe it's verse 24, Yeshua says, and then they saw me do something different, so they hated me and they hated my Father. So it's like, you know, really think about that. You know, we say we love him. We say we love Yeshua. But yet we We don't recognize when people truly hate that. They hate that. They hate him. How can someone say, oh, I love Vanessa, but I don't want anybody to speak her name. I have a problem with you speaking and, proclaiming her name or talking about her, but I love, how? When my son talks about Vanessa to someone else, he knows that it's just not my name. He's talking about my character, the person I am, what I stand for, which is Elohim first, and who I am as his mother, and how he has the rights to me because he came from me. That's the same with our Father. So I just want to encourage you guys, when you read that, really read that if you have some time today. And little nuggets like that, I just appreciate when Abba lets those stand out to me, to let me know that, man, I feel proud and honored to do something different, aside from the world. We're called out. And if you are truly called out, people will know. People will know, It's not necessarily how you walk or talk. It's what the Ruach is doing. It's what the helper that Yahweh has brought us. Yeshua said his Father will bring the helper to help us. He makes that happen. And when we go and we try to do it on our own, we try to work it on our own and make things happen, we're going outside of the order, the Kodesh order of things. Perfect example. I used to tell people it's natural for me to worry. I'm a natural worrier, right? No. Abba revealed something to me a couple of years ago that I've shared with just a few, not even a few, maybe two good friends. And I told them, when I used to worry so much and make myself sick because worrying leads to sin, it was because I told Abba, I was telling him, my way is best, and I know how to fix things. Which is a slap in the face to him. Because if that's the case, I don't need the helper. You're trying to do the job of the Ruach. You're trying to do the job of his presence, the helper. Whenever you worry, that's what it is. You're not sitting back and letting him do his job. Because he's going to work it out anyway. I'm telling you. This is the day that Yahweh, our Abba, has made. And let us rejoice. Let us rejoice in it. And don't be afraid to call on his name. And let his helper help you. I'll see you in the next one. Shalom.